So thanks for coming today, guys. Welcome. If you don't know myself and Michelle, we are members of our customer success team over here at PushPress. Kind of our
Mm.
goal as the success team is to help educate you guys and keep pushing your businesses forward. Something that we know we get a ton of questions about is social media. Where do we start? What should we be doing? What platform should I be using? So we're going to kind of dive into a little bit of all of that today. Overview of some demographics, overview of the platforms themselves. We will highlight a few gyms who are doing it pretty well. And then we'll open up for Q&A because obviously everyone's a little bit different. And then we'll spend some time there. So without further ado, welcome to A Guide to Mastering Social Media Platforms. Take it away,
Let's
Miss
do it.
Michelle.
All right. So before I jump into Facebook, which is going to be the first channel that we take a look at, I wanted to briefly mention this concept of generational marketing. So basically, this just means that you're going to segment your audiences by age groups and then target or strategize your social media presence based off of each generation, right? Because different things resonate with different age groups. So you want to be aware of what that is and also where your demographics are when it comes to the different social media channels. So as you can see in the key numbers, 69% of millennials prefer to use Facebook. A greater percentage of Gen Z prefer to use Instagram. And then you have 60% of TikTok users are also Gen Zers. So you want to be aware of how those are divided up amongst the social media channels, and also make sure that your messaging is a little bit different based off of those different generations and those different age groups. Now, a couple different FAQs to be aware of. So one thing that is great about social media, something that I know I appreciate for my own gym in testing things out, is you can get an idea of what things resonate very well and obviously what things fall flat. So if you're putting out content and it's like crickets, might be a good indicator that we need to change the messaging there, right? Again, you get some of that instant feedback. So as soon as a post is going up and you're tracking it throughout the day, you can easily see what the engagement looks like. And then moving forward, you have the ability to tailor, the posts that you're going to be doing from there so that you're hitting that engagement a little bit better. What I would suggest, this was just a very brief overview, obviously, of this concept. So my biggest recommendation would be, as you're thinking about refining your social media presence, take some time to research generational marketing. There's some really great information on Google that'll give you an idea of like, how millennials approach social media versus Gen Zers and, baby boomers and all that kind of stuff that is going to be relevant as you start to think about how you want to start posting your content to these different channels. All right, so let's talk about Facebook a little bit. So it still remains the largest social networking site with over 3 billion people using it monthly. I'm going to go through some pros and cons. I won't touch on every single one of these just for the sake of time, but hit on some that I think are key here. One of the great things that you can do with Facebook is engage with both current clients and simultaneously try to attract, obviously, new members, right? So even for my own gym, we have an internal face group page that we use to try and keep members engaged, keep them up to date on what we have going on at the gym, give people spotlights and things like that. And then at the same time, we have an externally facing Facebook page, which is really meant to put out like help first kind of content. So content that might resonate with different people based off of the demographics that we're looking at. I would say most of our members are upper 30s and over, right? So we're not exactly going to be getting that 20-year-old out there. And we're aware of that. We have a lot of moms, we have a lot of working professionals. So a lot of the content that we put out as far as external facing is going to be geared towards those people so that we might make a connection, hit a nerve, and then draw their attention. So you certainly have the ability to do that. And that goes hand in hand with increasing your brand awareness. Something that probably everybody's familiar with is running Facebook ads. I will say they can be a little tricky to figure out, but if you are able to do it well, you have the chance to really draw in a lot of people. One of my suggestions, if you are considering Facebook ads at some point, because I think it can be a little bit intimidating, and depending on who you talk to, and Greg, let me know what your experience has been. It can be hit or miss. Some people love it. Some people think it's horrible. I tend to be, do your own research. And if it's something you're interested in trying, then go ahead and try it, but do it strategically. So, a couple different ways you can do that. You can work with a third party company. We have a partner, Lasso, that works with a lot of our clients here at Push Press, and they obviously they know the game inside and out. They're going to take care of all the advertising content for you. So you really just have to worry more about managing the leads coming in and getting them into the gym. If you are more interested in doing something, DIY style, we actually did a webinar last year with one of our resident experts, Rudy Trevino, who also owns his own gym called FitStop and has worked with a variety of marketing agencies over the years of his ownership and kind of got to a point where he felt like, hey, I can do this on my own. So I would say if that's something you're interested in, you can access that webinar on our PushStart site, which is for owners, has all kinds of information related to your business. And Greg and I can send it to you if you're, getting lost, but that'll be a good resource for you to use. Another good benefit of Facebook is the ability to what I call build like your street cred, right? So we all know the importance of Google reviews. Facebook also has the ability to build reviews as well. One thing that I also think is super helpful is getting involved in community groups on Facebook. So just in the town that I live in, there's like 3 different community pages. That I'm a part of. And anytime we have a new program or anytime someone has made a lot of progress at the gym, not only do we post it internally, but we also post it to the community pages to just try and attract people that, may not know about us, or maybe they're looking for some help and they're just, it's our way of introducing ourselves kind of under the radar. Couple cons as far as Facebook goes. Again, with the ads, depending on how successful it can be a little bit of a money pit. Again, try to be strategic there, do your homework before you get started. Can be challenging to gain engagement. Now, one thing that, keep in mind on Facebook, people are spending like 30, I think the average is 30 to 35 minutes per day, but sometimes people are using Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, et cetera, as more of like an escape and an entertainment value. So they may not be going into it with the mindset of, I'm looking for a company to connect with. If you are running ads, something you may run into, I found that like when we were working with an ad agency and paying for ads, we definitely encountered a lot more spam, which I think is just a natural byproduct of doing something like that, whether it's bots or other companies trying to solicit their services to us. So just go into it knowing that if you're doing something like that, I would say expect that you're going to see some of that as well. All right. Moving on to Instagram. So Instagram is kind of catching up to Facebook, right? So it's 2.4 billion monthly active users. So it also grew exponentially last year, I think at a faster rate than Facebook did. So it's coming along. Same thing, you have a very large user base. One thing that's a little bit unique about Instagram is it's more, I would say, aesthetically driven. So if you're someone that really enjoys putting together like creative, visually appealing content, Instagram might be a good starting place for you because it's always easier to do something that you connect with, right? So I would say if that's something that you enjoy, maybe start with Instagram in terms of building your content, building your consistency, and then branch out from there. There's some nice advanced features that you can take advantage of on Instagram, things like boosting posts to try and get a wider reach in terms of your audience, and some Instagram insights in terms of how much engagement you're actually getting from users and that sort of thing. Now, in terms of cons, one thing Instagram has definitely taught me is learning how to be more concise. So I've been bitten a few times with scheduling posts to get published on Facebook and Instagram, and then found out later that my post was too long. So it didn't actually post to Instagram. And then that was sort of a missed opportunity, right? So if you're someone that has a hard time kind of condensing things down to just, bare bones, most important things, you want to be aware of that. I try to look at that as an opportunity to get better, but just know that you're going to be working with specific character limitations on that platform. Something else to be highly aware of, and I think this speaks more to Instagram and TikTok, is that studies have shown that people being on those platforms has trained our brains to adapt to a much shorter attention span. So you have about 8 seconds to get someone's attention before they start scrolling to the next thing, which is a little bit tricky, right? So you want to make sure that you're being very strategic with the content you're putting out there, because it's going to be pretty hard to grab their attention, get them to click on a link or stop and read. So that's something that you want to be mindful of. And again, try to do your research to find out what things tend to resonate well on Instagram and what things don't. The other or last con that I'll point out for Instagram is this idea of navigating a personal account versus a business account. There's pros and cons to each. One thing I will say, if you have a business account, there's some benefits that you get, but there's also some things sort of working against you. So if you're a business account, for example, you get ranked lower than just personal accounts. So what that means is it's going to take someone more time to scroll before they ever get to one of your posts or the content that you're putting out, which is obviously something to be aware of. Another thing I know Greg had mentioned to me is that business accounts get new features last. Is that correct? So you're kind of
Correct.
the low man on the totem pole. And also it's a little related to the size of your business. So if you're a small
Mhm.
business, which many of us are, you may be the very last to get a new feature rolled out to you, as opposed to just having a regular personal account. Again, I would say, do a quick Google search and read through the list of, pros and cons of both, and then decide which one you think will be a better fit for your gym. All right, Greg, you ready for Google My Business?
I am ready.
Let's do it.
So Google My Business. This is kind of like almost a forgotten social media, I would say, and probably one of the most important ones around a topic a lot of us are asking a lot of questions about. So obviously, we all know Google, largest search engine in use today. First and foremost, Google My Business is great for boosting your SEO. So we get that question all the time. How do I boost my SEO? How do I boost my SEO? The more we can interact with Google as a small business, the more we're going to get crawled by Google's crawl bots, the more we're going to get boosted up in those Google review rankings, right? Um, with Google My Business, some of the cool features that they do have is you can embed a call to action right into all of your posts. So a little bit different. SEO is search engine optimization. Good question. Sorry, we shouldn't assume everyone knows the terms. Search engine optimization, right? So with our call to action, something that I use for my personal gym is I always embed my link to my free trial right into my Google My Business posts. So my gym, we do free trials. That way, if somebody is searching me on Google and they come across my Google My Business, they have the link right there to schedule their free trial. Really great, easy access if they are using Google. Other things with Google, reviews are huge, right? So we offer a service here at PushPress called Gym Happy. Great service that plugs into your Grow account if you are a Grow user that will actually farm reviews from your members based on their class experience. From there, if we get a 5-star review from one of our members, which hopefully we all are, they're then prompted to push that to Google. And again, just like posting to Google My Business, more reviews is going to boost our SEO, make us look better to Google, and keep pushing us up that ranking. So hopefully, when someone goes, find a gym in my area, you're the top of the list. Similar to, good question, Jocelyn. Gym Happy is an add-on. I believe it's around $15 a month. If you're a Grow user and you're interested in that, reach out to either the Push Press Messenger or you can reach out to Michelle or myself and we can get you plugged into that. Um, They do not. Good question, Paula. Paula. Non five-star reviews will not get prompted to go to Google. There's only gonna be the fives. Paula, there we go. Thank you. Good questions. So yeah, something that I would encourage all of us who are Grow users, if you're not using Jim Happy, take a look at it. It's a really cool, powerful system. We all know who Dan is. It's kind of Dan's baby. So get on that. Google reviews are huge and go right hand in hand with our Google My Business stuff. Other things that we get with Google My Business are free insights and analytics provided by Google My Business, similar to what we see on the Facebook and Instagram platforms. So those are our pros. Cons to Google My Business is going to be, like we all know, negative reviews. When it comes to negative reviews, first and foremost, the best thing we can do is manage them appropriately. So make sure we're responding to negative reviews. Make sure we dig into the problem, see if we can solve the problem. And if that's the case, then hopefully we can turn that into a positive review. With Google being as big as it is a highly competitive space. So even though we are working to boost our search engine optimization, it is a hard needle to move at times. Last but not least is making sure our info is correct on our Google My Business page. So if you have a Google My Business page set up, I even get now reminders like when holidays come up, hey, are these your correct hours for the holiday? Just to be sure if you have people who are looking to do a drop-in or a trial around kind of untypical weeks that you have scheduled, that is updated, because definitely a good way to get a bad Google review would be, hey, I show up to your gym, it said it was open, but you're closed, right? So just making sure that is correct info at all times can be somewhat tedious, but if you run a pretty consistent schedule, not too bad. And last but not least, like we see in all our other platforms, we're kind of at the mercy of Google. When the algorithms or the policies change, it will affect you. We kind of got to learn as we go with some of that stuff. Cool. And last but not least, kind of the hot one in the streets right now, TikTok. So with TikTok, something we see a lot is we want to expand our reach. It's the easiest way to go viral, right? So the pros of TikTok, you have a very wide audience, a lot of engagement, and a lot of virality. And it's good for boosting brand awareness and cost effective. When it comes to TikTok, in my opinion, and what I've seen across the board is we do get a lot more engagement. So I can post a TikTok that maybe is going to get 10,000 views, with my Instagram maybe getting 100 views, right? But the thing with that TikTok is that's almost an inflated number, because as soon as you go across the screen of someone's TikTok as they're scrolling, that's going to count as a view. The other thing with TikTok, and kind of moving into the con side of things here, is it's a short living content and then there's limited targeting options, right? So even though someone maybe saw your gym for 2 seconds as they scrolled by, that could be somebody who's across the country. And realistically, as a brick and mortar facility, we need to be a little bit more targeted with our outreach. If you're somebody who has a very big online presence, or you're looking to build a personal brand potentially as a trainer yourself, or you offer a lot of online programming, and that's a big part of your business, I think TikTok is more appropriate for you. At the end of the day, as a brick and mortar, really more than anything, this is going to be kind of more just to entertain your members, potentially keep them engaged, but it's not going to push a ton of business. And again, kind of getting that last con there. Generally, it's going to be a little bit more for brand, for influencers versus a business, unless you are selling specific products through the TikTok shop. Or again, maybe something like an online type program, if that's big in your business.
Nice. All right, so let's go through some best practices. One thing I did want to mention, just because as Greg was talking through TikTok, it reminded me of a point even for myself. So depending on how you have your social media content being managed, you want to make sure, like if you have various staff that are jumping in and posting to social media. So I know for my gym, myself, my partner, and our head coach all jump in and we do, various posting during the week. We're each responsible for a couple different days during the week and the content that goes up. We have a calendar that we keep. But one thing that's important to make sure is everybody's on the same page about where we want to focus our attention and our intention, right? So we recently had a new coach join us who's a little bit younger. He's about 20, great energy, and he's all about TikTok. And then we had a conversation about, I love that idea, and I think it's great to have that content out there. But again, knowing who our demographic is for our own community, we want to try and also push that content out to like a Facebook or an Instagram, because that's where more of our people are. So I think whatever, strategy you want to go with, make sure that if you have additional staff members that are part of your social media campaign, that everyone's on the same page with like who your ideal audience is, what your community looks like, and who it is that you're trying to target on those platforms. So as far as some best practices, we'll go through each of these. Facebook engagement is key, obviously, and that sort of goes back to the generational marketing and the instant feedback that you get from Facebook and Instagram, really. So, putting content out and then also observing whether or not it hits. What kind of engagement are you getting? Are you getting people to comment? Are you getting absolutely nothing, no engagement back? Okay, then what changes are you going to make moving forward? Something else is having some uniformity, right? So I think it's really important, even though we're small businesses, to have a brand identity and to make sure that you're being consistent with that when you're putting content out there. It just gives you a look of professionalism and helps set your brand apart more easily. Again, using Facebook groups, I think, is also a really great practice. It's a very easy way of getting your gym out into the community, getting yourself in front of, people that aren't existing members, and getting some more exposure there. As far as that goes, I would always say try to lead with a help first mentality rather than a marketing strategy. So putting a lot of free content out, it's the new year, try and put nutrition tips out there and fitness tips, maybe some free workouts in those community pages. And then, you can sprinkle it in with like, hey, these are some of the services that we provide, and see what kind of engagement you get with that. For Instagram, I mentioned it earlier, maintaining high quality visuals. And I think carrying through that brand consistency is really important. One thing that we try to do is to whatever our posts look like, always have, similar look and feel, similar branding on there. And then within the content itself, obviously there's some variety, but the brand itself is very clear, obviously. Try to get really well versed at storytelling through captions. That goes back to being very concise. Chat GPT can be a great friend for that. So I use that as a quick cheat. A lot of times it just says, write me a quick Instagram post on X, Y, and Z. I'll copy that, paste it, and then change some of the wording so it's a little bit more in my own voice and sort of my own style. Hashtags is a big one. Personally, I will admit that I hate the whole hashtag thing because I always feel like, there's like a million I need to include, and am I including the right ones? But then sometimes it's also an opportunity to be a little creative. Also, a fun fact for those that are using Grow. I believe in Grow, you can use the content AI to not only help create, the wording and the captions that go with Instagram or Facebook, but also creating hashtags as well, which can be kind of nice. So if you are, stuck on ideas, you can always use that. You can always jump over to Chat GPT as well and dump some thoughts in there, and it'll give you like a million different hashtags to use. So those would be the best practices, I would say, for Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. So best practices here for our TikTok and Google My Business. So TikTok, first and foremost, I think authenticity matters. We see a lot of trending things on TikTok that are very cool, but are they going to really push your brand forward? And are they authentic to your brand, right? Maybe you have the really fun, goofy gym, and that's your community, and doing a TikTok dance makes sense to you. If maybe you're more of a strength and conditioning style gym that's looking to attract more athletes, maybe not for you, but maybe it is if they're those 13-year-old high school athletes who they think that stuff's cool, right? So I think with TikTok, we have to find a brand voice, as with all of these. all of these platforms that really fits your business. Don't just try to do what's the next big thing on TikTok, unless it is something that, again, speaks to you and your members or somebody who would want to be a member of your facility. Um, Again, keep it short and snappy. We know with that attention span, especially on TikTok, if you're not catching that attention in the first couple seconds, they're going to just swipe to the next one. Out of all of the platforms, TikTok is the most optimized for like the infinite scroll. So if you are not right there and catching attention, you're going to be passed up. Um, Again, leverage those trends and challenges. If they fit your brand and what the message you want to get out, definitely use them because that's a great way to get that virality going that TikTok is really great for. And then last, I think out of all of them, I do some TikToks for my gym. You can get creative and playful, right? That's where you can make some kind of more funny content that I think also doesn't always need to be about generating leads or generating business, but keeping your members engaged and entertained as well. They want to connect with you and your coaches on a personal level as well as a gym level. So that's a good way you can leverage TikTok kind of more internally. For Google My Business, easy one. Make sure your profile is complete, right? We have the right address. We have the phone number they should be calling. Um, we have the right email, all that easy stuff, the right hours of operation. We don't want those people showing up or trying to call us and they can't. Use quality visuals. Best practices for me in my Grow dashboard, I essentially use my exact same Instagram posts. Then I add in that call to action that Google My Business lets you use. So again, high quality visual, Instagram being that really visual content, just carbon copying that over to Google. We're interacting with Google. We love that. Regular update your information. Again, speaking to kind of those holiday hours. If you're going to be closed for a bit, make sure you put that on there. So if we do have people looking for us, they're not slipping through the cracks or showing up unexpected. And then last, I think one of the biggest ones is to collect and respond to those reviews. Again, if you're interested in Gym Happy, feel free to reach out to us, push press messenger email, and we can show you those kind of features. But reviews are huge to, again, boost that SEO.
Quick question for you, Greg. So I
Yep.
know we're actually going to move on to these spotlights, and
Mm-hmm.
your gym is the spotlight for Google My Business.
Sure.
So it's apropos. But
Mm-hmm.
once you've created your Google My Business listing and you've completed it, is there a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot of upkeep that you're doing from that point on, or is it pretty much set?
It's pretty much set. Google is actually pretty good about they'll send you emails of like, hey, there's a holiday coming up. Are these going to be your hours on, say, the 4th of July or whatever the holiday is? And then you can update them kind of as you go. Um, the big thing I would say is if you're very fluid with your class schedule, if you're more of a class-based facility, is just making sure as you update your calendar within push press, you also kind of put it in the back of your head and your SOPs to, hey, we also need to update this on Google just to be, crossing our T's and dotting our I's.
Nice. All right. So
Yeah.
might be some kind of easy low hanging fruit to start
Mm-hmm.
with is making sure that you have that completed
Mm-hmm.
and then moving on to, tackling Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. My personal
Yeah.
suggestion is focus on one, maybe two at the
Mm-hmm.
most, and focus on creating some sort of consistency. If you can only consistently post twice a week, then keep it at twice a week. The last thing that you want to have is, posting 5 days in a row and then 3 weeks go by and you've only posted once, or posting a couple times and then a month later you're posting a few more. It's more important to have some kind of regularity, and that's going to get you greater engagement rather than, kind of all over the place. So don't feel as though you have to bite everything off at one time. I would say, just start small and then build off of that. Make sure you have a very clear brand identity. You're dialing into the generational marketing side of things, refining the process as you need, and then expand from there. So this last slide before we hop into some questions are spotlights of clients that do a really good job for exemplifying, what you want to shoot for on each different platform. For the sake of time, I'm not going to link out to each one, but definitely worth noting down for yourself. CrossFit 845, their Instagram account would certainly be one that I would follow. And I'm a big proponent of, if you find people in the space that are that are doing a great job and something that you emulate, towards doing, take what they're doing and replicate it and then make it your own. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just need to understand their process and then replicate the same thing in your own voice and your own identity. Um, Dave Eisenstadt at CrossFit 845 and I actually did a webinar. I think it was November of last year on creating compelling content. So we took a deeper dive into the kind of reels and videos and content that he puts out on his Instagram account, because he's been wildly successful with it. His gym is on target to hit about $1 million in revenue this year. So certainly someone worthwhile to follow on Instagram. And I think Viroqua is TikTok, Greg.
Correct.
Do you want to go into that a little bit?
Yep. Yep. So CrossFit Viroqua, they kind of do more of like a highlight reel, which I think is cool. Again, kind of more on that internal side of things. They also do some coaching, like short snippets. So maybe something like, hey, here's how we teach an air squat here. Something that your members can engage with, but also can reach a wider audience, which I think is great. Show your expertise, show the fun side of your fitness, and just kind of, show off your community a little bit.
I love that. Next one we have is going to be for Facebook, and I mentioned it briefly a little bit earlier. So this is FitStop, and Rudy Trevino, who's actually on our team here at Push Press. Great example to follow on Facebook in terms of the kind of content and post that he does. I'm pretty sure he's currently running ads on Facebook. So again, a good example to follow and check out and see what kind of things they're posting on there. One thing that Rudy's also really great about is if anyone wants to connect with him directly to, pepper him with questions or get ideas on how he puts together his ads and stuff like that. He's also always eager and willing to do one-on-one calls. So I would say maybe start with that DIY ad webinar that we did. And then if you feel like it would be helpful to touch base with him on a call, we can certainly set that up. Just reach out to Greg or myself.
And then last but not
You got
least
to
is actually
plug
my
yourself,
my
Greg.
my gym. Shameless plug, CrossFit
That's
Ariak.
right.
So we chose my gym for Google My Business. Like I kind of talked about, best practices for me is just again engaging with Google as much as I can. So essentially what I do for my Grow dashboard is I am going to schedule my Instagram post and my Google My Business post at the same time. It's the same caption, same picture. And the only difference there is within your Google or your Grow dashboard, rather, you can also embed that call to action option on Google My Business to link out your free trial or booking your no sweat intro call, anything like that. So if you go to my Google My Business or my Instagram, the posts are essentially the same. But again, almost to me, a 2-for-1 type thing there. If you're struggling with where should I be posting, as long as we get the Google My Business set up, you can essentially post to Instagram and Google My Business at the same time with the same post, and kind of cutting out some of that work for yourselves.
Nice. All right, guys. So let's open the floor up to any questions that you might have. We have plenty of time here, so
Yeah.
let's see what we got.
I think a good first one here is from Hannah. Hannah asks, do we recommend having a business page on Facebook, then a separate community Facebook page for members? I think that's a great question. For many years, I ran both. So I had a Facebook group internally for my members, and then I also had obviously my business Facebook page. In more recent years, since moving to Push Press, I actually have pushed almost all of our communication into the app via our social feed on the member app. Not quite as much functionality as a Facebook group, but it's right there in the palm of their hand. They're going to be logging into class every day. It gives them one less place that they have to go to kind of look for information. So I'm a big proponent of Facebook page for your business, and then either a Facebook group for your members or utilize that social feed feature. Either way.
Yeah, that's sort of a tough call because I recently have found myself, will post something on the internal page and
Mm-hmm.
then I'll go and post on social in the
Mm-hmm.
members app because I know some of the members aren't on the Facebook group. And it's a little
Right.
tough because we'll get, engagement on the group page, people commenting there, and then separate people commenting on the social feed. So It might be something you want to, use just data driven, to decide what works best for you. So if you have a page already and start using social, see if you get more engagement from one versus the other so you're not duplicating all your efforts.
Yeah, for sure. Um, How does replying to Google reviews help? Great question. I think it's again just getting back to the idea of the more we engage with Google, the more Google likes it. So if we're active in responding to our reviews, whether they're positive or negative, Google likes to see that. So something as simple as, hey, thanks for the 5-star review is awesome. And then I think kind of a bigger impact there could be we see a negative review, we can show that we care about this. We want to reach out to this person. Hey, I'm sorry you had this experience. What can we do to improve? How can we get you back in here? Maybe you're going to save a sale. And then maybe somebody else who's going to see that review later down the road will see, okay, even though maybe this person had this negative experience, these people actually care and are actually going to go the extra mile to remedy that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, read them if you don't mind
Oh, yeah, I
reading
got
them
it.
off. That would be
All right. Oh, yeah, you probably can't see it.
good. Yeah.
All right. Do you offer social media reviews or consultations? Aside from engagement, it's hard to tell if what we are doing is working or could use improvement, stuff like that. Great question.
That is a good question.
So great thing with you guys being Push Press Gyms is our success team here. So myself, Michelle, and then Gavin and Zach. We are always available to you guys. Even though we might not be Instagram or Facebook ads experts, we have seen them done. We've done them ourselves. We all have currently owned gyms or have owned gyms. So we've done many of these things and worked with a lot of gyms who have done these things. So we're always a good starting point. Feel free to book a success call with us anytime to go over kind of the things you are doing. And then from there, we can help you formulate a plan to see, okay, where can we improve? But then also, maybe do we need to go to a real expert like a Lasso, one of our partners, to get those ads going if that's something we think we could, improve the process on.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things where unless you're doing like a targeted ad, it can be a little tricky to know where they're coming from. Or
Mhm.
unless you are, having a call to action in your post is another one that can be a really good way of getting some kind of tracking on what the engagement is, whether it's engagement just from people, commenting or engagement as in people actually reaching out and saying, hey, I'm interested in such and such. So a lot of times with certain things that we're running, what I'll try to do for my own social media is, drop a thumbs up below or fist bump if you're interested, or reach out to, and I'll put in like my email address. And that way I know, if people are reaching out to me directly or they're leaving that specific comment, okay, I know that we're resonating and this post created this, engagement.
For sure. Next one. Maybe not considered social media, but would love to hear thoughts on the role of Yelp in this discussion as they seem to be targeted to local businesses.
Ooh, good
Do you have any, do
question.
you have
I'm
any
gonna
experience with Yelp?
honestly, no, Yelp is not something that I will say I don't even focus a whole lot of
Mm-hmm,
my attention on Yelp. That
mm-hmm,
being said, I am not a big review person in general.
mm-hmm.
So I will shamelessly say I don't
Yeah,
leave a lot of reviews. I don't,
sure.
if I read reviews, it's always on Google and I specifically go and look for reviews on such and such. I think again, I think some of that depends on like use data to decide whether or not that's something that's going to be helpful or a hindrance to you. What do
Yeah.
you think, Greg?
We had somebody else respond here. Every experience they've had with Yelp has been shady, but we are in Atlanta, so it might be a big city thing. Um,
Yeah, that's
I
true.
person, I personally have not had great interactions or dealings with Yelp as well. I'm sure there's somebody out there who is killing it with Yelp. Personally, just not one that I dive into, kind of for the same reason. I just got a bad taste from them when I worked with them a few times. So
Yeah. And I
my
think,
personal thing, yeah,
well, I was going to say, just going back to the fact that reviews on Google then impact your
yes,
SEO. And so there's kind
hmm
of a greater good there, right? That you're
right,
shooting for. So if you're focusing your attention, for me personally, that would be where I would focus it because there's other advantages to it.
I agree. Good one here that gets into demographics. I come from a place where we have to reach out to audiences that vary in age. How do we do that on Instagram, for example?
That's a good question. So I'm going to go back to the generational marketing information. I think that would be something that would be super helpful to do a little bit of research on so that you get a better understanding of like, okay, if I post, this is the kind of content that Gen Zers want to see versus millennials. I will tell you that just off the top of my head, I know that Gen Zers use social media more to weed out brands that they identify with versus brands that they don't, and sort of building that trust, right? Whereas millennials, I don't think they lean on it as heavily. So let that sort of guide the kind of content that you're putting out. And if you do know that there's various age ranges that you're trying to target, it may take a little bit more legwork to tweak your post a little bit so that okay, this is for our 40 plus, this is for our 30 plus, what have you. And I don't think it needs to be something like they're totally different, like night and day, but probably just little caveats, maybe some different images and stuff like that. And again, you're going to get feedback, right, on whether things are getting engagement or not. And then you can take that and use it to refine what you post moving forward. What do you
Yeah, I think
think?
that's no, I think that's perfect. I think, like you said, more than anything, diversifying your message and with something like Instagram in particular, make sure your images are matching to that audience you're wanting to speak to. So if we're doing a master's or an over 50 class, right? Don't put the picture up of the teenage boy, right? So something as simple as that can be pretty effective. But yeah, I think that's spot on.
Yeah.
Couple interesting ones here that I have a little bit of experience and not a ton. Any thoughts on YouTube, Michelle?
Ugh, no, I do not have
Yeah,
thoughts on
yeah,
YouTube.
my
I would say that falls out of my scope.
yeah, yeah. The thing I would say about YouTube is I think it's really good for great longer form content potentially. With where YouTube is now kind of in the space, if you're not pushing pretty polished content, I think you're going to fall to the backside very quickly. So for most of us who are already kind of just struggling to post to Instagram or Facebook or Google My Business, I would say YouTube is far down the line for us. Again, unless there's a specific project where we feel like we can make a big impact there. Maybe you want to create a movement library for your gym or something
Mhm.
specifically on YouTube. I think that would be a great use of time. But it will probably be a lot of time. Most of us are pretty over leveraged as is. So I would say pick and choose your battles there to a degree. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that for
Um,
sure.
how about the Nextdoor app? Can that be effective? You familiar with that?
Nope.
So we have that up by us. It's kind of like a local neighborhood app. It's like you get to basically join the app based on your location. They function pretty similarly to like a Facebook group. So if you're
Oh,
engaged in the
nice.
local Facebook groups, I would guess that would probably have a little bit more reach. They're a little bit less restrictive. However, being next door is very tied to location. That could also potentially be a little bit more targeted to your immediate area. So I would say use that pretty much the same as you'd use more of like those public Facebook groups, like that are maybe, what's happening in your town, etc. I'd say Nextdoor could be good for that. I know there are admins for those. So depending on your admin for Nextdoor, they might not like you advertising or trying to push your business. So just be aware of that as well. You definitely don't want to get banned off them as of the group.
Are you able to just
Uh,
post like you would? Is it like a Facebook post kind of structure, like
it's
images and then content
yeah,
below? Okay,
Yeah, it's pretty similar to it's almost yeah, it's very similar to a Facebook group, I'd say. Yeah.
gotcha.
Um, does anyone use the social chat as a substitute to a Facebook or Instagram for members only? So I think Hannah means the social feed
Yeah.
for the branded app. You guys use that pretty heavily?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, you.
Yes, we didn't. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I would say probably in the last 3 months, I've made a concerted effort to get a lot more active on there. Selfishly, also to just get more people like in the app logging things as well as referring to the social feed for important updates,
Mhm.
announcements, events, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of nice because there's a little bit of synergy, right? By
Mhm.
having people on there. So I am finding it to be useful, but we haven't abandoned our Facebook like internal page quite yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I've mostly abandoned my Facebook page. I don't use it often. I probably haven't added any members in there for like a year, so it's definitely lacking there.
Yeah.
So that's something that I always found hard to keep up with. Is just okay, who signed up this week? I got to add them to the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Um, and so for me, kind of my outreach approach now is email through Grow and then post in the social feed. That tends to get it across. Will we be doing any webinars about analytics from Google My Business or Instagram, etc.? Good
Oh,
question. We are always
pass
open
that
to
to Zach.
ideas. Yep, we are always
Yeah.
open to new ideas. We have a new member of our team who you guys will be meeting very shortly, named Zach. Zach will be kind of running a lot more of these going forward, and we will definitely pass that on to him as a potential area of interest for everybody.
Yeah. I think a lot of
Uh,
people would probably tune in for that one.
yeah, yeah.
The mysteries
The
of Google.
Yes. The old reliable question. How do we get more people in the door?
Oof. My personal suggestion
Mhm.
would be to, at one point, we were working with a mentorship, a business coach, and started to really change up the content that we were putting out onto social media. And I will say, just in being in success, I think I've observed that a lot of gyms were doing the same thing where it's a lot of this is what we do, this is who we are. And really, when you start to make a shift in putting out content that connects with people, so think of that help first kind of content. Someone that does a really great job of that as well, to go back to that CrossFit 845 example.
Mhm.
He is proficient at storytelling, and it's those stories about the real people at his gym that make someone stop and pay attention to his content and then reach out because they see themselves in that person or in that story and think, hey, maybe this is the place for me. That's not as sexy as maybe ad campaigns, right? Or some like cool marketing campaign.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, if you think about how saturated all these platforms are, if you're not connecting with someone, it's going to be very difficult to get them to take some kind of action to your business. And sometimes you're not always going to know, maybe they saw you on Instagram, you put something out that was help oriented, lifestyle habits that you can start in 90 days or something like that. And then eventually they go over to your website and they take a look at your website, and then they go and look at your Google reviews. And then eventually they reach out to the gym, right? So sometimes it's kind of hard to follow the dots, which is why you always want to look at it as like planting seeds, right? And getting that repeated exposure. That would be my soapbox right there.
And I think that's perfect. I think the big thing you're hitting on there is the emotional appeal is what's gonna get people in the door, right? Especially someone who maybe isn't familiar with your product. You might post a video that's an amazing example of you teaching how to do a snatch, which me being in CrossFit for over a decade, I'm like, man, that guy crushes it. But somebody coming off the street has no idea what you're doing. So it's not going to hit them. So again, that's more of internally for your members. It's probably great. Maybe internally to the CrossFit or the Olympic weightlifting community is great because you can kind of get your name out there. But in terms of bringing in a new member, probably not hitting the mark. The new member wants to see what are your success stories. Tell me about the guy who's lost 100 pounds at your gym. Tell me
Yep.
about the busy mom who still makes time to get her workout in, even though she's got 3 kids, she's running all over the place. That's what's going to get people in the door.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
Um, when using social media for marketing, new classes, special offers, events, etc., is there a sweet spot for how far in advance content should be pushed? And should that marketing always include a call to action?
Good question.
Very good.
Do you have a rule of thumb that you follow?
Um, I like a 6 week lead up personally.
Same.
That's not based off any like tried or true method. It honestly, to me, just feels like the sweet spot. I feel like 8 weeks is a little too far. Where if I'm getting someone signed up 2 months out from this program starting, I feel like a month later, that kind of the spark of why they wanted to join is probably gone at that point.
Yeah.
So I think 6 weeks is a good ramp up where you can kind of get them into the queue, right? You can get them moving. You can follow up with them over the time before the program starts. And I would definitely always put a call to action, whether it's something simple like book a call, book a free class, sign up for the program itself. Exploratory calls are super powerful. Just something 5-10 minutes just to make that connection that's hard to do over social media. So getting them to engage with the social media, then getting them on a call with you where you can explain the product and you can tell them why your business is different, I think is a great way to go.
Yeah. I follow the same 6 week rule myself.
Mhm.
Usually what I will do in terms of my own recipe is I just start with like, again, it's probably getting annoying, that help first content, just to start putting stuff out there to kind of pique their interest. Um, and then I'll start to toss in like a call to action, so that they can, take that next step. Something else that you may want to consider as well, and this is for Grow users that currently have Grow. I have a client that's been really successful with Bring a Friend Week. She starts 6 weeks out, right? And she wanted to find a way to keep people engaged that signed up very early, right? Because she had some people that were signing up a month in advance, some that were signing up 2 weeks in advance, and then some that were signing up the week before. So we spent some time together and put a Grow workflow together specifically to her Bring a Friend event that did some of that engagement leading up to that week. So it kept the
Mhm.
excitement going, gave them
Yep.
some content to go off of, that sort of thing, before the event actually kicked off. So that's something to consider as well. And once you have it in place, you're good to go. It's always going to be there to use, moving forward, which is nice.
Um, some of the last ones here to kind of round out the hours. We have Eric saying he shares all of his reels from Instagram, I'm assuming, to shorts on YouTube. I am not well versed in the YouTube short world. I think that's a relatively new feature that I have personally not played with.
Yeah.
But the idea of being able to push content across multiple platforms, I am all for 100%. Um,
Yeah.
we
Kind of an
have,
easy play. So I would keep with
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. Another good chime in here about content itself. I definitely also think for new members, it can help to make content about debunking the scary myths and approaching the fears one may have about CrossFit. I think that's great for
Yeah.
current members who are maybe a little hesitant to kind of like let loose in class. And then also, you probably have somebody who has thought, I feel like I would really want to try CrossFit or want to try this new weightlifting gym, but they have a friend who's like, oh yeah, I did CrossFit and I blew my shoulder out, right?
That was
So,
me. I
right,
was like,
right,
I'm not
yeah,
starting CrossFit. Those people are crazy.
right,
So it took me
yeah,
like 5 years before I even started it. So
right. So
just goes to
if you had
show.
got, yeah, if you had got that piece of content that was like, we'll take care of you, you're going to be safe, like that might have got
Yeah.
you in the door sooner for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I think last one here is okay. Kieran is reading about the article Sam posted in here about Google My Business. Is your recommendation that we post on Instagram and Facebook? We also post the same thing as an update on Google My Business. I think that is the easiest low hanging fruit, especially if you're a Grow user. You can literally schedule that same post for all three at once, set it and forget
Yeah.
it. You don't have to go to three different places. You can customize each one a little bit as you wish. So, like for me, for Facebook, I'll cut out the hashtags. I'll leave the hashtags on Google and Instagram. I'll add that call to action on Google My Business and then schedule the post and it's good to go. Set and forget.
Dunzo.
I'm hitting three places with one post essentially and saving myself a ton of time.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, Kieran, definitely let's set up a call because she said she, he, she. Um, doesn't use the social media planner yet on Grow. So yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
definitely an underutilized feature. That's just a huge time saver, which is the name of the game as a gym owner for
Yeah.
sure.
If those of you out there that don't have Grow yet, I know before we hopped on to that, there's some apps you can use that do similar things like later. I'm sure there's newer
Hmm.
ones out there as well that might give you some similar
Yep.
functionality, any way to
Yep.
make your life a little bit easier, right? Because at the end of the day, the
Hmm.
whole purpose is just getting content out. So I would say
Yep.
maybe look into some of those as well. Or, take a closer look at Grow and see if it's something that would be a good fit.
For sure. I think that's all the questions we have, and we're gonna
That
wrap
was
up right
awesome.
at the hour on time.
What? We're right on time.
I am proud of
Heck,
us. I am
me
proud of
too.
us.
I don't know if anyone
um,
else is proud, but I.
yeah. This was great, guys. We really
Yeah.
appreciate all of you coming. Like we said, kind of something unique and awesome about Push Press is here on our success team and really on our entire customer facing team. All of us are current or former gym owners, and we really want to just help you guys get the answers you need to push your gym forward. So if you don't have a success rep you're working with yet, we will send out an email with our booking links. Book some time with Michelle and myself, whether it's for social media, business practices, or if you just want to kind of pick someone else's brain who's been in the game a while. That's what's really exciting about our job. So, make us work and
Definitely.
give us some fun problems to work through with you for sure.
Yeah. Love
Yeah.
it. Thank you guys
Cool.
for attending. Appreciate it.
Yeah. See you guys.
See ya.